All right, guys, welcome to week one. That's right, week one, because the last week we're changing the name of that to week zero, the preseason week. This is week one, just after RLCS week one of league play, and I'm here with my co-hosts, Callum the Shogun, the greatest caster to ever live, the man who's coined the most iconic phrase that's ever been said in a Rocket League cast. This is Rocket League.
Do you know it's actually got worse now that I'm streaming? Because now I stream, that means I'm playing Rocket League 5 hours a day.
Yeah.
And that is 5 hours of every single goal being Rocket League.
Yeah, being Rocket League.
It really is not. It's the 0-second ones.
But yeah, definitely be sure to swing by Shogun's stream. You could even see the This is Rocket League emote. You can't see it right now if you're just listening to our voices, but you'll have to go to the stream to watch it.
I think you can agree that they look spectacular.
It's definitely worth swinging by to check out. I would say that much. That's going to be the same as everything else. This twitch.tv/Callum the Shogun, right?
Yep.
With Callum with two L's.
Yes.
So yeah, be sure to give him some love. But let's get right into business this week. We're going to go through games one by one and give our little bit of thoughts on them. And we'll also let you guys know how wrong some of our predictions were. Starting off with the first game from the North American RLCS, FlyQuest versus Allegiance. I gave this one 3-1 to FlyQuest. What did you have as your prediction for this, Shogun?
I don't remember. I don't think I usually do
game predictions.
Get your thing in time. Yeah, I don't usually do game predictions. But if I remember this correctly, I'd have gone roughly about 3-0 for FlyQuest.
Really? You were not even giving Allegiance a game?
That's just not you. I think people usually give teams games purely because we want to give them one. It's not a case of me thinking Allegiance weren't going to keep it close. It's a case of we see a lot more sweeps than we do 3-1s. Mm-hmm. And if a game is going like that, it's very rare that a team picks it up for just one. If they lose the first two, they usually go on to lose the third.
Yeah, I was maybe expecting like a game one win for Allegiance while FlyQuest get started, and then once they got into full swing, they would take it, or maybe trade games 1 and 2. In the opposite direction. But what actually happened, of course, is FlyQuest only managed to win 2 games. Allegiance took 3. But it's honestly not like the biggest upset ever. You know, we both predicted Allegiance to finish last place in NA RLCS in the preseason podcast. But this is probably the game that they're most likely to win, I would say. So and especially getting it in week 1 is great for them before FlyQuest have a chance to get used to being in RLCS league play. But I know you did actually do replay analysis of this series, so
it only took 3 hours to get through this one series.
Yeah,
yes.
So really, you're the man to ask. First of all, what were the standout points for Allegiance, and on the other half of the field, what were the problems for FlyQuest from your perspective?
Overall, I posted it on Twitter as well. Seabass is a monster. I absolutely love Seabass after watching that series. He just does so much correct that it's actually really impressive. It was a bit of a sloppy series for the first few games. Kind of to be expected with all the jitters and nerves. Overall, and it's the same thing with a lot of things in Rocket League, it's just playing what you get really well. And you got to remember, this entire series was only decided by an overtime bit of genius from Aleutian.
Mm-hmm.
Just being right in the top spot. The pass over to him was absolutely beautiful. Yes. And it's good to go through those sort of replays and figuring out, okay, you know what? It looks really good when you watch it live, but when you get down to breaking it down a little bit more, I'm not going to say it's less impressive, but you can tell it was a little bit more of an obvious play. You know, you've just seen your man go up on the backboard. You're going to pass it to him. What are you going to do? Blast it at the keeper? But the fact that you get the pass off, that's the impressive bit. Not the vision. The actual pass is incredible because it has to be spot on. You have to be able to get it to your teammate.
And he trusted. He slammed that. He didn't hold back at all. He didn't lob that. He didn't ship it. He dumped it. I love that. That's the best thing to do. Just slam the ball at your man on the backboard. Don't give him a floater because it's easier to defend. I wanted to ask you, I didn't see the run-up evolution. Did you see when you're doing replay review if he was thinking about, maybe rotating out or going for a bump on a goalie and then decided to go backboard, or was it just like he landed there and then the pass came? Like, what was it that happened?
He was already over there to try and challenge, if I remember correctly.
Mm-hmm.
The ball had already gone past him and there was no reason to go back. He would have to go wide. He was already up on the wall, or at least near to the wall, where You've already got Lucian and Seabass back. You might as well stick around. Both Lucian and Seabass were perfectly well positioned to deal with a 3v2 should they be needed to. So you might as well go for it. And it worked out very well.
Yeah, it certainly did. And what about FlyQuest then? What was the issue? So I guess we could say that they underperformed because they lost this. Or was it, them performing as good as you expected and Allegiance doing better? Perhaps
there was the only thing that I found myself regularly repeating to myself, especially during the first few games, is why have you gone for that with so little boost? There was a lot of missed touches or very weak aerial shots when I think Wonder was like the main person I saw with this, but it happened a lot. Prime Thunder had a lot of weird double commits that didn't quite make any sense when I saw them. But there was a lot of time where the boost management wasn't on point. They put a few too many players forward when realistically they should have held back. Because all they really did was open up a lot of space for some passing plays. And whilst they didn't start off great for it, once Allegiance actually recognized that they had space for passes, they really utilized it well. And that's when they just started picking FlyQuest apart.
Yeah. I would say now that looking forward for Allegiance, they have to be so careful not to have an Excel season like Excel did have in Europe in Season 5, where they win the first series of the tournament of league play, and then they go on to lose everything else and find themselves at the bottom of the standings. Like they just need, one other win, and they're probably top 6. So that's obviously what they're going for. They're just going to go for top 6. They're not. I'm sure this win isn't giving them any false expectations like top 2 or top 4 just yet. And the result they had later on in the days, duplicated that. But yeah, they just need to try and find a way to win another series, and there are teams that look beatable after week 1.
We'll get to that, trust me.
Yeah. Where did FlyQuest go from that series though? Because they probably expected to win. So where do they do now?
This one hurts because FlyQuest, realistically, we had them put down as a top 4 contender. This is not one that we expected them to lose, and the fact that they have lost it does hurt their chances. From what I saw from them, I think both of these teams might actually end up being safe. So it's not going to hurt. I think in the long run of the season, as long as you can pick up a couple more wins, you will be fine. But this is one that both teams really wanted to try and pick this one up because it is very winnable for both sides. And
hey, at least FlyQuest got a couple of games, so their win percentage is going to be helped.
You lost via
somewhat.
OT in Game 5. It doesn't get closer.
The win percentage does come into play later on. We're going to talk more about both those teams because they did play another series, so we're not going to dwell on them any longer. Let's get into the second series of the day, which was Cloud9. Just dismantling Rogue, decimating Rogue, annihilating Rogue. Pick your favorite. 3-0. Cloud9 versus Rogue. And there was also an element of Rogue kind of just committing suicide in the series. What did you think about Rogue's performance, first of all?
All right, so this is the only other one that I did a replay analysis of. Oh, it was bad. It got really bad. Started off well. Rogue got themselves a 2-goal lead. They actually looked really solid. Joro misrotated for the first... Okay, so a lot of it was put on Joro by the general public. Upon rewatching, Joro made some catastrophic mistakes. He was directly the cause of probably about 3 goals. But compared to the larger scale, those 3 goals are pretty much the exact same amount that everyone else caused their team to concede as well. Sizz made some absolute howlers. He was talking about controller and internet issues, which upon review actually kind of made a little bit of sense. There was a lot of weird side jumps to the left.
Yeah.
It was actually about 4 different times throughout the series that I was looking to myself and just going double jump upwards, and instead he jumps once and then jumps immediately to the left.
So he's just like field side flip, man. Like it's fast aerial and side flipping. Yeah,
quite a few times as well. And Jacob just sort of kept diving in.
Yeah.
He kept having like close to 25, maybe 18 boosts, and he just jumped straight in. And that left Sizz or Joro just completely by themselves. And you're against the Universal Open champions. Gimmick and Squishy are going to say, oh, we got a 2v1? Just going to go and bump your 1. We don't want you around anymore. So you can't do that against them.
The thing that I noticed about Jacob after the series, there's an interesting thread on Reddit made. And I'm not going to bring it up on screen or anything because people listening won't be able to see anyway. But the short story was, why are the casters giving Jacob such a wide berth? Why are they complimenting him when they're criticizing his teammates so much? When in fact it looks like it's just a complete team catastrophic failure. So what would you say to that? Do you think that's accurate at all? Do you think Jacob was more to blame than the broadcast sort of hinted at, or was he trying to prevent a sinking ship from sinking and he just couldn't plug all the holes?
I think, speaking obviously as someone that has been on that broadcast area, there is times where you don't really notice stuff. And when you are a broadcaster, you're looking for the more noticeable mistakes. I would say Jacob put his team in a position very often where it was very awkward for them. And because of how awkward it was for them, that's when they made the mistakes. Those mistakes would not happen if Jacob did not do X came up quite often. So obviously, as a broadcaster, you've not got much time. We don't have the time that I had. And, I looked at it for 2 hours.
Yeah.
They don't have the time to just go, oh, okay, during this replay, Jacob should have done this. You're instead looking at the, why did you side flip? Sort of situation. So Jacob deserves the criticism. The problem with it being live, though, is it's hard to criticize when you need time to figure out what actually just happened.
Yeah. I will say that I think Jacob played the best out of them. They did fail as a team. But I think there is an element to 3v3 where, a player might realize that their team isn't doing very well. And, there's not one correct thing to do in that situation. Some players would say, okay, I'm just going to stay in defense. You two who aren't playing very well today, get up front, see what you can do over there. Or, some other players might just start ball chasing and attack and try and pressure absolutely everything themselves and just take over the lobby 1v5. I think that's the route that Jacob went for. He realized, maybe, and I'm also thinking to that comment Sis made saying that he's lagging or his controller's not working. So Jacob, when upon hearing that, probably thought to himself, okay, I need to do more today because Sis is going to be doing less because he's got issues with that aren't in his control. And Joro's maybe feeling a bit shaky. I don't know what the comms were like, but it's his debut. So I imagine that Jacob tried to carry, and it often, when it doesn't work, it just looks like he's left everybody out to dry. That would be my take on it. Still his, it is still his, partly his fault that they lost. But
the good news though is that they were expected to lose this one.
Yeah,
no matter how bad the loss was, they were expected to lose this. They can look better moving forward, and I think this team can look better. It's just one mistake led to another. That first game, I think, actually killed the series immediately. Just because they had no possible comeback. They didn't really know what they wanted to do to try and fix it up. And Cloud9 were the better team. But when we get to their schedule for this week coming up, I think they're still fine. It's not the all-out alert that a lot of people are putting out there. But if they perform like that again, it certainly is.
Yeah, we'll mention that right now, just since Cloud9 and Rogue, this is their only game that they played this week. I said we're going to talk about FlyQuest and Allegiance later on, because they did play another. But Cloud9 next week play 2 series, firstly against Ghost and then against EG. And Rogue do play against just Ghost. So looking at how well Ghost did, I think that Cloud9 should be feeling pretty comfortable. But Rogue will probably be a little bit worried, actually, unless... What's the current update on the whole Hurricane situation? Are there any players in those matchups who are going to be affected? I think Memory, right? Memory from Ghost.
Needs to be moved.
Yeah.
He's already being moved, I believe.
Yeah, so that's going to be interesting.
He's going to be with Lef.
Okay. Well, that's going to be a very interesting one to keep up with. So what's happening is that obviously there's a Hurricane in North America, and Memory, the new boy from Ghost, he is having to move to avoid it. So he's going to be playing in a location that he's not used to. And he's having to go up against Cloud9 first series of the day, and then that's probably going to be a loss, even if he was playing from his home setup, and then they come back and they play against Rogue, and that's Rogue for a fresh Rogue. So this is the ideal, bounce back situation for Rogue. If you're going to ever come back from a 3-0 smashing against Cloud9 in week 1, going against a Ghost team who are having some technical issues that they can't control, some environmental issues that they can't control, this is probably the best thing that could have happened for them going into week 2. I do
absolutely agree, but I think they can handle it well. I think it's good the fact that they do have options as to where to put people. I believe their two options were send them either to the Ghost House, which is, I think, over in the West Coast, which they did not want to do.
That would be rough.
Or just put him elsewhere.
That'd be very rough. Oh, wait, he doesn't have to move anymore because the path that Hurricane moved away from where he lives in Virginia? Well, we're going to have to keep up with that one. I mean, this is Wednesday.
We've got no idea.
And by this weekend...
was massive.
Yeah, it could be very different by this weekend. We're just bringing it to you guys' attention that that's something that you have to take note of. The West Coast players in America are always going to have a slight disadvantage, of course. Like players like Sizz. Yeah, I know he's had issues like lag in pretty much every season of RLCS because you're just so far away over there, and they play every game on East if there's a majority of East players in the lobby. All right, now that's probably enough talk about Cloud9 versus Rogue. Let's move on to continue the conversation about Ghost and their matchup with EG, which ended up being pretty close. This I did predict the score for this, or the winner for this one being EG, but I didn't think Ghost were going to make it such a close game, or a close series, especially with how badly they started. But they did take 2 games. What did you overall think about Ghost's comeback potential here? First of all,
so I was actually very frustrated, but for a completely different reason as to why everyone might expect. I see game 1. I see 1-0 Evil Geniuses, and I'm like, okay, that was a bit dull.
Yeah.
Game 2, 1-0 Evil Geniuses, and I go, that was also a bit dull.
Yeah.
But wait a second, the stats part of my mind is just going, wait, have we ever seen a series 1-0, 1-0, 1-0 for the lowest possible scoring series ever?
Never happened, right?
Absolutely not.
No,
the lowest amount of goals we've seen in a series is 7.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's a lot higher than 3.
That's a low scoring. Yeah, that's a lot higher than 3. So I was looking at this just going, oh, it's actually possible. And then we get into the next game. Evil Geniuses score first with about a minute and a half left. I can't remember exactly. And I just go, oh my god, it's going to happen.
It's happening.
Oh my god, it's happening. Immediately afterwards, Ghost score. And I'm just
they got 2.
I don't like you. I don't like you anymore, Ghost. You've ruined it. And then they go to game... Well, at that point, you've ruined the stats. So you might as well just go to game 5.
They did go to game 5 and Evil Geniuses took it 2-0. The other reason to be disappointed here is I had Chicago in my fantasy team, and like series where there are no goals happening are really bad for Rocket League Fantasy, so that was unfortunate for me. I loved the fact that Cloud9 were just obliterating Rogue though, because I had Squishy and Gimmick in my fantasy team, so that was great. Yeah, let's talk a bit about that EG roster. Chicago was hailed by many, probably including both of us, as the best transfer of the off-season for North America. Do you think so far he's living up to that?
I think it's too early to tell, but a win against Ghost is probably what they would want. I think the only time you're going to be able to tell whether or not he was the worthwhile transfer is once you hit the G2s, NRGs, and Cloud9s. Because he's the pickup that they brought in to make them rival those teams. And until we see them play, then we're not going to know just yet.
Yeah, he's still, I think, like the best performing new player in week 1 because Joro and Memory struggled a bit more than he did for Rogue and Ghost, respectively.
I believe if I look at this, no other debuting player for North America, I think, won their very first match.
I think my internet's just died, has it? Is it coming back?
I've heard a little bit of death there.
I think it might have stabilized again. I mean, we're recording...
Chat, we're still here?
We are recording audio separately, so that's fortunate.
Hey.
Hold on, just pause for a second. Did the chat did the chat see any lag there, or was it fine?
Chat's not saying nothing. Oh, it's okay now, according to
it dropped about 650 frames. Hopefully that's not going to happen again. I was worried it actually just died. It went straight to 0 kilobit per second. Okay, we're back. Anyway, let's continue. So yeah, EG I think they do need to step it up. That's the real thing about EG is they did beat Ghost. They were supposed to beat Ghost. But they, like you said, they got Chicago in because they want to challenge the big 3, which, kind of more of the big 2 and G2 as well in the off-season. But now G2 are looking pretty good as well, are in pretty good form. So yeah, EG need to step it up again if they want to take down those teams. I would definitely agree with you there. Don't know if have you anything else you want to talk about with Ghost EG? I don't really have much to say about this. It was
not really.
It was such a boring series.
It was a series that happened.
It was so boring, honestly. But anyway, let's move on to a series that a lot of fans will be delighted about. G2 3-0ing Allegiance, and in pretty confident fashion. It was a 1-0 game 1. and then 4-1 game 2 and 3-1 in game 3. So very comfortable stuff for G2. The first thing I want to ask you is, what do you think of Kronovi in this series? That's probably the most interesting thing for me.
If I'm going to be honest here, I actually missed this one.
Oh, Shogun.
I had to pop to the
Shogun.
top. I was just like, oh, this one's going to last. This one's going to last. I thought I'll get it back for game 4. I'll find it all. And I literally popped out, got back, and it was done. I was like, the bloody hell? That should have happened like that. So
yeah, well, I'll tell you.
I'm gonna lay on you for this one.
All right, perfect. Because you did the analysis for the other ones. But yeah, Kronovi was great. So last season, Rizzo kind of stepped up in league play and helped JNaps with the carrying. But for the first series at least of this season, G2 Kronovi is looking, just as good as ever. It wasn't like a really huge test for him. And that's, same as EG. We're going to have to wait and see how G2 do against the teams like Cloud9 and NRG before we know how well Kronovi and G2 are really playing. But so far, so good. They're doing what they're supposed to do, which is not always how G2 are. When sometimes when they're the favorite in a series, they just completely throw it out the window. So it's good for G2 fans to see G2 winning a series 3-0 in comfortable fashion. I guess the team who did actually win a series earlier in the day, taking down Allegiance, did beat FlyQuest, so G2 managed to beat the team that beat FlyQuest. That's a really good sign. Trying to challenge for that top 2. Just final thoughts on Allegiance and G2 moving forward. Allegiance have got NRG next week, so that's not good for them. Their
entire schedule to start this season is awful. They've got C9 after that.
Yeah, they got Cloud9 the week after that, and then they got Rogue and EG. So, is it actually a good thing? Maybe. I mean, it's not good if they're trying to win next week, because they're probably not going to beat NRG. But is it good to get the tough ones out of the way first, early for Allegiance?
We've seen different examples of this, where a team that has had a terrible start to the season in terms of schedule just either completely falling flat on their face. Good example is usually the 8th seed from North America is pretty much always the one that doesn't really step up. And then you've got the really good examples, like the Leftovers, who had their really tough week 1, and they just went 2-0, and they looked fine for the rest of the season. That 2-0 propelled them to a 4-0, and then they lost their last 3 games, but they didn't care. They were already secured a top 2 spot.
Yeah.
I think this is fine. I think you pick up any wins here, you're safe. Because 2 wins has usually been okay to save you. 3 wins definitely saves you.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, it's not not mathematically, but very likely.
Mathematically, but it's not been
very
seen
likely
previously.
I think Allegiance, the fact that they're getting all their tough series out of the way early, it's up to them whether or not it's a good thing. If they can stay positive throughout this, because they're probably going to get clapped by NRG and Cloud9. But I say probably because, they actually did play well against FlyQuest, and if they could replicate and catch NRG or Cloud9 in a bad day, yeah, they could get a series win. It's not outside the realms of possibility. But the likelihood is they're going to get clapped, and they need to just stay positive, focus on what's ahead, just try to be realistic and think, okay, now we were supposed to lose these series. Now let's go and take a series off Rogue, EG, or Ghost, and then we're probably going to stay up, like you say. That's the Allegiance story. G2 next week have got FlyQuest, so another should be easy series for them. Possibly another 3-0 if they can keep up their current run of form. Now FlyQuest, they weren't done for this weekend as well. They did lose their second series of the day to NRG, 3-1. I think I actually got the score prediction bang on for this one. There was one of 2 that I got bang on. I got Cloud9 Rogue, I got bang on, the 3-0, I think. And then NRG FlyQuest, I got this exactly right as well. But, yeah, this is rough for FlyQuest. If they'd taken the win against Allegiance and then lost to NRG and then next week lost to G2, they would be thinking, no, it's fine. This is supposed to happen. But now they're in a really rough spot because they have to take down a team that they're not supposed to beat in order to stay out of the bottom 2. And do you think it's likely to happen with series like this NRG one? Really exposing them. I mean, 5-0 game 1. Not a good way to start the series.
I think it definitely exposed that they are not championship contenders yet. After I saw the first game, I put a tweet out just going, Well, NRG look absolutely pissed.
Yeah.
Good luck, FlyQuest. Enjoy it. So
Sorry,
it's
guys, that
actually,
was my phone again.
I think more impressive that despite they got stomped in game 1, they actually won the game after
Yeah, they did
that,
win game
and they
2.
kept
Yeah.
everything to 1 goal. I think that's actually impressive, and I think that makes the Allegiance series hurt even more. Because if they could keep it that close with NRG, if they could take it against Allegiance, this season looks a little bit better for them. But it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. I think they got to look to G2 as a possible win. If G2 are as rampant as they were against Allegiance, it's going to be difficult. But G2 is a possible win for them. I think they can probably take it against Evil Geniuses as well. I think these next 2 games and these next 2 weeks are huge for them. If they can pick up a win there, they'll be very good off. But if not, they've got a tough time.
They're looking to the very end of the season,
Ghost.
right? Yeah, Ghost and Rogue are must wins. You know, at the very start of the season, I think Allegiance would have looked at the schedule, thought, okay, let's beat FlyQuest, probably lose to NRG, and then hopefully G2 will be terrible. We could beat them as well and be 2-1 2 weeks in. Now they're thinking, oh dear, G2 actually looked really good in week 1. What are we? Are we really going 0-3 here? And then we have to go up against EG, who are supposed to beat us. Then Cloud9 are supposed to beat us. Oh dear, it's the same story for them. They're new boys, but they need to just stay positive and take it one step at a time and see if they can get the job done. I'm glad to see that NA is looking the most competitive it's ever been. By the way, in terms of the bottom teams, I don't think that the middle of the pack teams are all playing as well as they're supposed to. Looking at Rogue. And even Ghost, actually, because Ghost had such a good season 3 such a good season 4. They kind of fell off in season 5. We forget that that's the team that used to be taking series off G2, going Cloud9 and NRG really close. But yeah, I think the bottom have caught up to the middle in NA. The top are still
the
way
top's
ahead.
Got further away.
Yeah, but NRG and G2 both playing against the new boys next week. They should probably be winning those. Cloud9 are looking great, so they should probably take down Ghost and EG. And then Rogue versus Ghost. That's the interesting one for me. That's the series that could get the most wild
which
predictions.
Which one of you is actually in trouble?
Yeah, that's a good way of looking at it. I don't know which one or which way the predictions are going to go for Rogue versus Ghost, but it's going to be interesting to see for sure. Let's move on to Europe before we just take hours and hours again. And Europe was harder to predict. I managed to predict 4 of the winners from NA. The only one I got wrong was the first one of the day, Allegiance versus FlyQuest. But in Europe, I only got 2 out of 5 right in terms of who wins the series. So
I can pretty much guess 2 of those ones that threw you off.
I got let's do the first one. I got this one right. Not score. I thought it was going to be closer, but I did guess that Dignitas would beat Fnatic. So, wow, what a sick prediction that is, right? what an incredible prediction by me.
Yeah, that was such a brutal game as well.
Yeah, it was just a ridiculously impressive out the gates performance from Dignitas. They just banged in 4 goals before Fnatic were awake in game 1. Game 2 was much closer, and that was the game that Fnatic needed to win if they wanted to make this a close series, because losing game 2, it didn't look like they were ever going to come back and win the series from that, because Dignitas were playing so well. Are you really going to reverse sweep them? I don't think so. But yeah, what did you think about Fnatic? Comparing this to the time that this is the team that beat Dignitas just a couple of weeks ago in the off-season in an online tournament. They beat them 3-2 in a very close back-and-forth series, and Dignitas didn't look like they were playing too badly, and now they just got completely slapped silly.
Yeah, this is the reason why when people say to me, oh, Dignitas lost in this online tournament, are they, being caught? I sit here and just go, you're so hopeful, but it's not yet. Dignitas have got a different level when it comes to the RLCS, and it is unreal. I mean, 10 goals to 1. To shut them out for 2 games straight, it's not even the offense that I'm impressed with. I've always been impressed by Dignitas' offense, but it's the defense. It's like, how do you create something against a team that gives you literally no room? It's a boa constrictor around you and just goes, all right, you're not going through me. You can't pass because one of my teammates has got it covered. Where are you going? And you can't touch them right now. It's so difficult to set things up.
Yeah, Violent Panda got the 2nd highest saves per game behind Fairy Peak in a series that they won 10-1. They're not just dominating in offense, like you say, like they're just dealing with everything defensively so much better than other teams. I think that's the standout thing from them. Like, yes, their shooting is incredible. They've got Kate Up on their team, who just seems to always bang in every shot that he takes, bar down at 1,000,000 miles an hour. And the creativity from Turbo and Violent Panda has always been a threat. But I think you're absolutely right. It's their defense. They handle things so well. And everybody was hoping that Mummy Snow would come in for Fnatic and he could maybe be the player who would surprise them and would do things that they're not used to seeing. And maybe that's why Fnatic did beat Dignitas a couple of weeks ago, because Mummy Snow and Maestro in particular were just like actually making Dignitas look weak in defense for once, or vulnerable in defense. But yeah, that's been figured out. Who's next? Who's probably got the best chance of taking that Dignitas? I really don't know at this point.
I definitely think Mummy Snow might have frozen a little bit this week, because it was his debut.
Yeah.
But he definitely didn't look that creative, especially in his later on series where he was brought in, and as you just mentioned, everyone was sort of saying, okay, this is the spark they need. They've gone from a position-based player that you can sort of predict what he's going to do to Mummy Snow, who you have no idea what he's going to do, but he seemed a little cookie cutter this week. And it's hard to do, especially with your very first ever RLCS game, but you've got to break out of that mold, especially in a European game, because if you don't, Dignitas know exactly what you're going for. So he's going to have to be a little bit more creative with the way he moves forward.
Yeah. And like he just wasn't getting involved as much as he did in the other series. Their other problem, of course, is Maestro just didn't play as well as he did the time that Fnatic beat Dignitas. I think Maestro and Mummy Snow just didn't have that same offensive presence. They couldn't establish anything. That's their problem. So they need to go and figure out, okay, what were we doing wrong, not just in this series, but one later on that we'll talk about down the line. It may get more promising, though, for Fnatic if they can catch Vitality sleeping next week, because that's their matchup in week 2 versus Vitality, who also struggled in week 1. So, just like Rogue Ghost was the key matchup in, or is the key matchup in week 2. Well. What's that?
They're the same seeds as Rogue and Ghost as well.
Yeah. They've both lost their week 1 series, Fnatic lost to
you can usually tell the seeding
game 4
by who's playing when.
Playing
game 4 and this one's game 4.
Well, it's not always like that though, because Dignitas played the first series of the day, and that was where Allegiance were in NA. They were last seed.
I think it's a rule.
Champion always goes first.
Champion
always goes first. But yeah, the short story is Fnatic Vitality, that whoever loses that is in trouble. Just like the Rogue Ghost series, whoever loses that is in trouble. Or might be in trouble. No, it's not the end of their season, not by any means. But Fnatic especially, if they lose that, they're 0-3 after 2 weeks, because they've not just lost to Dignitas, they also lost to Mouse later on. We'll talk about that a little bit more later. Dignitas, though, they're playing that Mouse roster next week, so that's an interesting one as well. Now we get to see the test. Everybody's saying, oh, wow, Mouse are really showing up, but what Shogun would no doubt tell you correctly is that you don't know how good they are until they play Dignitas. So week 2 will reveal all, maybe. What are you expecting, though, from Dignitas versus Mouse next week, though?
I think it's going to be a bit of a reality shock. I hope Mouse can give them an actual series, but I see a 3-0 to Dignitas, and that's no slight on Mouse. It's just I rate that Dignitas that much. Yep,
I could see that. Mouse were causing problems for Fnatic and Vitality. Their defenses were not holding up to what Mouse were doing. They were getting goals enough to win games. Close games most of the time, but still. Game wins. It snowballed a little bit versus Fnatic, but it started off pretty close. But yeah, I don't see it working against Dignitas. They're just more organized. They have better communication, better rotation in defense, better clears. They're just better across the board, better challenges, less double commits. And you're not going to... I don't see Mouse Sports causing them enough problems, really, in week 2. Let's talk about their week 1 matchup against Vitality, first of all, though. That was Mouse 3, Vitality 1. And the obvious thing to bring up, first of all, is the hype video. I don't know, did you see the little hype intro that RLCS had for Scrub? I was
just going, oh my god, it's League of Rockets!
I thought it was kind of... I don't know what RLCS were going for there, I'm not going to lie. I thought it was kind of funny, the intro that they went... I get what they're doing, they're trying to hype up Scrub, trying to start that storyline in week 1, and they're like, right, come on, Scrub Kill, get a win. You're against the lowest ranked team in the league. Just get a win so we can keep on hyping you up, and eventually at the end of the season you're going to beat Dignitas and the hype will be real, because that's the last game of week 5 is Vitality versus Dignitas. So they're trying. The script is just there. You can see it, right?
Yeah.
The Scrub Killer script is plain for all to see. It starts off in week 1 with the little hype intro, with the casters at the Telestrator doing their little PowerPoint presentation over the League of Rockets video. And then it finishes in week 5 with Scrub and Vitality beating Dignitas. And it's like, the prophecy's true. Is this really the season we've all been waiting for? No, it's not, because they lost to Mouse. So where did it all go wrong for Scrub, Shogun?
Where did it go wrong for Scrub? It was a weird series, to be honest. I kept looking at it just going, what is happening? There was a lot of goal trading happening. There was a lot of times where one really good goal would go in, and then immediately afterwards it's just get a kickoff and something gets scored pretty quickly. Fairy definitely did not play his best at all, which is actually becoming an alarming trend in these big freeze tournaments where me and Gibbs beginning of last season, we put out our predictions as to who we feel the best players in the world are. And I think I put Fairy second or first. He was high up there.
Yeah.
And now I'm just sat here just going,
is he even top 10, like in threes?
Why is he actually performed in? What was the last time I saw a major game where I looked at it and just went, wow, Fairy Peak is popping off? I feel like I have to go all the way back to like season 4, maybe season 3.
For threes, yeah. Last time I saw him
twos,
popping off,
got loads.
He popped off like in the super long overtime versus Dignitas, but that was when Dignitas were playing with a sub, and that was an online tournament. It wasn't a LAN, it wasn't a major, it wasn't RLCS. He looked really good in the attempted qualifier for the Universal Open, which him and Pashi failed to qualify for. It's, he's looked good at times, but they've lost. So how good was he really? He switched to Octane this week, by the way. I don't know if you've noticed, but he's been popping up on streams in Europe, playing ranked and maybe rank S. I'm not sure if there was any rank S games going on, but yeah, he's been playing Octane, which is a card he's played a lot in the past. I'm very curious to see if he rolls with the Octane into their week 2 matchup versus Fnatic. It's question marks for Vitality. I don't think Scrub played that badly, honestly. I think he's getting way too much flack.
I think Pashi actually had a very good series for himself, despite a couple of mistakes in game 1.
Yeah, Scrub was actually really solid for his first series series ever in RLCS. I think he played quite well, honestly. Not well enough, but they didn't get the job done.
I think it's very easy, especially given the hype for Scrub, to say, oh my god, it was either the best series that you've ever seen, he's the prodigal child, he's the one that was promised, or man, this guy was overhyped. Why is everyone talking about him? And instead, it's sort of central. It was a good series. He can improve upon it. He can get better. But I think everyone's just trying to force it left or right, or just going, best,
force it one
worst.
way.
It's like, no, it was a series that was played.
Yep. Yeah, Scrub played okay, but obviously not well enough. Fairy Peak looked pretty shaky, and that's why he's switching up his car. He's trying to figure out what he could do differently. I know that the Pashi last second goals, what on earth? How does this always keep happening? Pashi always gets so many late equalizers, but the fact that they lost, I think, both of the overtimes after those late equalizers, what a different story we would have seen if they'd scored both of those last second goals and then won those overtimes and won 3-1. People would be like, Pashi, the most clutch player in the world. But yeah, they couldn't get the win. Mouse are actually a pretty solid team. They didn't play as well in the off season as they did in RLRS last season, and people were thinking maybe the Tigray swap in for Mummy Snows not worked out, but yeah, it seems like it worked out in the long run. They are looking very good, very organized, and quite threatening actually. Yeah, they're playing with confidence, and the underdog factor must have played huge for them going into Vitality series, because Vitality, I know that they've been doing really well in scrims and everything's been going pretty good, and they're confident. They might have underestimated Mouse here and not given them enough thought. They're maybe already thinking about that week 5 matchup versus Dignitas instead of looking at the team that's standing in the opposite side of the field. Let's talk about another series that I got wrong. Yeah, I obviously thought Vitality were going to win that one. Wrong. I thought PSG were going to win this one. Wrong. Complexity beat them 3-2. How similar is this to last season, where Complexity's off-season, this is season 5 off-season, were so bad, and then they came in and they did really well in RLCS, and now they've done it again. They did an even worse off-season. They showed up for RLCS and they beat a team who have just won the last tournament that happened before RLCS got started. What do you think, first of all, of Complexity? How do they keep doing this, where they bounce from a terrible off-season to actually playing really well in RLCS?
I think it might just be down to the way they play those tournaments. They sort of use them, and it's the way I've sort of talked to a lot of the NA casters as well whenever I'd have the chance to discuss Complexity to them. It's just like, yeah, but they didn't look good recently. And I'm just sat there just going, when was the last time Complexity looked good when they were playing anything? Yet they just win anyway. And it sort of happened again. That being said, Greasy.
Yeah, what a beast.
I'm so happy he's back, and I'm so happy he's playing as well as he is. Greasy was the standout performer that entire series.
Yep.
He was absolutely beastly, and it is fantastic to see.
Yeah, I honestly thought Greasy would take a secondary role to Magnus in this lineup when I first heard about it. I thought Magnus would be unleashed and Greasy would try to, just fit into the team. But no, Greasy's joined the team and he says, "No, we're going to do it my way. This is how I play Rocket League. A lot, you've kind of modeled your playstyle around me anyway, so get on board, and I'll show you what's up. I'll show you that I'm still a really, really good player." I think it's great to see Greasy back at his best. I'm excited to see how they can do next week against We Dem Girls, who are also playing very well. That's a little bit of a grudge match there with Metsonoris from We Dem Girls going up against his old teammates, and Greasy going up against Remco is obviously going to be an interesting one.
It's the least grudgy grudge match that we're ever.
Oh yeah, they're all good friends, but they're going to be going 110% in that series to get the win. Not just keep up their 100% win record, but also because they really, really want to beat each other. I know that for a fact. What did you think also about PSG and Fruity in particular? Because that was the other new player who I think... Well, I put him in my fantasy team, and he was really cheap, so I'm not too disappointed with how he did, honestly. For 1,300 fantasy dollars, he did all right. But yeah, what do you reckon about PSG and Fruity in this series?
I think they slightly misplayed how they went about the series. They probably should have played it faster if they could have done. Because the main thing that we were looking towards when it came to Complexity's weaknesses is that rotation. And how it can get very weird at times of about who's going for what and who's where. But because the series ended up being so slow, it gave Complexity a lot of time to communicate a lot better. They definitely knew where each other was supposed to be. And that doesn't really utilize the problems that we've previously seen from Complexity. So I think PSG made a mistake by playing as passively as they did, and they really need to try and get up to the throats of Complexity. Because if you ask Complexity the question of, do you guys want to play defense or do you want to match us for pace? Complexity are going to try and match you for pace. So I think there was a mistake made there that potentially could have won them this series, but 3-2, Complexity, I won't say have clicked yet, but they look like they're starting to really start to gel. And that's scary for everyone else because it didn't look like it was happening, and now it finally is. And
it's one of those teams, like Complexity, I could totally see some of their poor off-season performances being due to them being a team that kind of play to the level of their opponents. And if they're against a team who they don't really rate, or a team that don't play Rocket League the way that they expect Rocket League to be played at the highest level, they also kind of they start playing way worse than we're used to seeing from them. They're not they don't have the same way of going about winning a series as Dignitas do, where Dignitas are just so consistent and they just play their game. They don't really care what anybody else is doing. Complexity, they try to go that step faster, that step further than even the fastest teams in the world. They want to be so quick to everything and try and surprise people. And if they're up against a team that's much worse than them, then maybe that team didn't even go up for a ball, and you've tried to surprise someone. You tried to surprise someone who's not even there. They're just sitting on the ground waiting, and they're like, okay, cool. Now that Complexity are done touching the ball, we're just going to score. Which might have been what PSG were trying to do. Just wait for them to miss enough times that they can get an open net. But Complexity did actually play well enough, and they took their chances well enough that they won the series. A tight series. So, PSG were fighting back, and it was a strong win in Game 5. Actually, Complexity did well not to get reverse swept in that position, which is really, really good as well. If you're a Complexity fan, the fact that they've avoided a Game 5 loss here is, I think, huge, because they could have put their heads down there and thought, oh no, we're throwing, we're losing, we've lost. I don't know if you've
You
ever
can already
listened.
hear Greasy saying,
Yeah, we lost. Yeah, I was going to say that. You heard a lot in Greasy playing twos. They, get scored on in the first 5 seconds, and they're both like, yep, we lost in comms. And I know it's a joke, but that's maybe that'll start bleeding into their real comms, and they lose game 4. They're like, yep, we lost before game 5's even started. Well, clearly not, because they smashed game 5 3-0. The one other thing I wanted to talk to you about, or ask your opinion on, is did you see that a lot tweet that he called out? He was calling out Lawler and Gibbs, and I didn't watch. I wasn't watching at this point. I just saw the tweet where
I saw the tweet. I didn't hear the context.
I went back to watch the context just because I was curious, and I know a lot of other people were as well.
I was playing Football Manager.
So what happened? I think. Well, first of all, the tweet said something like, "This is from a lot." Greasy's teammate. He said, "At Lawler, at Gibbs, what series were you watching?" Greasy gets an A+ for that performance, and yeah. Like it seemed like he's calling out Lawler and Gibbs for saying that Greasy got carried, maybe. But I went back and watched it, and it was actually Axel Toss had asked a question to Gibbs and Lawler, who were on the desk at the time. He said, so it was a bit of a vague question. He's like, so the new boy Greasy, back in for complexity. What would you give him for this? And then he even led the answer. He said B+, A-. And then Gibbs just says, yeah, whatever you want, Axel. Kind of like, okay. Don't really. I don't know if they just didn't understand what the question was, or if they, like Lawler replied to Lot's tweet, said that he forgot like how well Greasy had played earlier in the series because the series went on for so long. I don't know. But all I wanted to say myself is that I think Greasy played really, really well, and I would agree with a lot. A+ is accurate.
I think this is smart from a lot. I think this is smart from a lot more than it is a criticism of the casters. If you want good team morale, and you hit anything that's even slightly not calling your teammate the best player in the world, you go on Twitter and you call your teammate the best player in the world. I think this is more a case of bigging Greasy up than it is any sort of slight on the casters. And I gotta say, it's smart. It's gonna, make Greasy really feel at home, which is the important thing to do. He's the outsider on this team. So I don't think... I mean, it could have been, a slight against them, but I think this is more a case of, let's make our lad feel good.
Yeah, I think he just disagreed. Like, he hears something, he's like, that's not what I think. So he just goes straight away to Twitter, as you should, and calls out the culprit from his perspective. But yeah, I think it was probably, like, listening back to the context, I think that Gibbs and Lawler just didn't understand the question. They were just like, yeah, I guess.
I mean, you don't really get much time to prep for it. You just hear the question and you just go...
It came out of nowhere.
Yeah, it was fine.
It sounded like they were finished with the segment, and then Axel Toss just goes, "Oh no, actually, before we move on, like Greasy for complexity, who they already talked about, by the way. This is like second time they brought him up. What would you give him for this performance as the new player? Like B+, A-." And then like at that point, I don't even know what Gibbs and Lawler are thinking, but they're just like, yeah, sure. They didn't say like in cold blood, Greasy got carried, which is kind of what I thought was going to happen when I saw that tweet.
If I want to throw more fuel on this fire, he gets an A- from me as well.
There you go. So a lot better be tweeting at Shogun later, saying some mean words. Yeah, I was hoping it would be more like there would be drama there, and they were saying Greasy got carried, Greasy sucks, but no, they didn't say anything like that. So that's just to clarify.
They didn't go hard enough. That's what you're doing. You don't go down the middle. You go harder.
Exactly. Just like Mouse did to Fnatic in their 3-1 win in the next game of the week. That was the smoothest transition of my life. But yeah, Mouse are here to... They're actually here to play. The one win that they got earlier in the week, or the weekend against Vitality, was no fluke. They actually managed to beat Fnatic as well, who obviously didn't look great against Ignitus, but they're still a team that most people, including myself, thought were going to beat Mouse. Yes, this is my third prediction that I got wrong in a row for Europe. Thanks, Mouse and Complexity, for showing up and surprising us all. But yeah, also genuinely thanks, because they're in with a real shot actually of finishing top 6 now, like a really, really good chance.
2 wins, 1 more, and I think
I mean, they've still got to play Flipside, who are looking so shaky. So, wow, like, can Mouse actually do this? Are they going to finish with 3 wins? What do you reckon? Right here, right now. What's your prediction, Mouse?
They're doing it.
I think they're actually going to get 3 or more. I really do as well. That's crazy. I would never have expected that going into this season. I don't think they're going to get their third win next week versus Dignitas, mind. I don't think that's going to happen. But yeah, who knows? I reckon week 5 versus Flipside, that could be it. If Flipside keep on struggling as much as they are. Yeah, what do you reckon Fnatic need to do, Shogun, to bounce back from this?
Play faster, please. And I think getting Mummy Snow away from his very first week is going to be a big thing. I actually think Fnatic having sort of the winnable second game here in their very first week, they'd have preferred to have it next week. But then again, saying that, they might have thought they could have caught Mouse sleeping or, you know, not having a great first week for themselves. This was a hugely winnable one for Fnatic, and this one hurts a lot because they go into next week against a Vitality team that also knows that they need to win, and a team that I feel like has got a higher ceiling for themselves. So it's going to be a tough time for Fnatic, but they can pull something out. They pull something out all the time, so see if they've got one more in them.
Yeah, like looking at the series versus Mouse, they won the first game 2-1, then they lost game 2 2-1, then they lost game 3 3-1, and they lost game 4 5-1. It just kept on getting worse and worse and worse every single game that went by beyond the first, which is not good news because you'd expect a team like Fnatic, who have more experience at RLCS level than Mouse, and they have obviously been in RLCS for 2 seasons now. Mouse is coming back in for the first time. Well, it's Skyline coming back in, Tigray and Alex161 making their debut, and they seem to be the team that's going from strength to strength as the series progresses, and Fnatic are the ones who are getting weaker and weaker. That's really bad news. It's the same in the Dignitas series. You know, they finished off with getting 5-0'd. So, yeah, Fnatic have really got it. I don't know if there's like tilt playing a part there, or if like what's falling to pieces, but something's got to be falling to pieces in those 2 series, that they just got worse and worse as the series went on and just end up getting clapped in the last game. That's like, I don't know what the problem is, or exactly what the problem is, but it's something related to that. And they need to change. They've got to fix that. They've got to have a way to come back in a series after it starts going wrong, or they are done. Like, they are bottom 2, like, no doubt. Like, right now, the funny thing is, if I had to pick a bottom 2 from EU after week 1, I would probably have to go with Fnatic and Flipside, just because of how good Mouse looked. And I do think that Vitality are more likely to bounce back. PSG looked the best in their loss out of all the teams that lost this week. That's madness. Flipside and Fnatic as the 2 bottom teams, and Mouse just like ahead of both of them. That's a world I don't think many people would have seen.
Nope.
Going into the season.
Would have got, I mean, you said it. Not yesterday, Sunday, where got to the end of game 2, and suddenly you just turn around and just go on Twitter. Well, everyone's got my prediction game wrong.
Yeah. Oh, that was mad. So anybody who doesn't know, I'm running these like prediction tournaments. Or not tournaments, prediction contests on Twitter. So or before every RLCS broadcast, about 3 hours before, maybe, or 4 hours before, the day of, I'm gonna tweet out asking for you guys to predict every series score exactly. And if anybody can get it exactly right, then you win whatever prizes I've got up. And I'm gonna keep adding to the prizes as the weeks go by with nobody getting this right. But yeah, like Shogun said, the funny thing about this week is literally all 430 predictions were wrong after the second series. Because of the people who got Dignitas versus Fnatic correct, 3-0, only 2 of them gave Mouse the win versus Vitality, and none of them expected it. They both gave it 3-2. So
it's the thing, people, go for something a little bit more extreme. Because everyone's going for the obvious ones. You're not going to be much of a winner if you go with the obvious one.
Yeah, nobody saw this coming. And, you know, that everybody made good predictions. If you predicted this correctly, that would be a bad prediction, I think. I think there's very little reason to predict Mouse 3-1 over Vitality and 3-1 over Fnatic, given what we knew going into this. But, hey, it happened. So, bad predictions are the way to go, I guess.
Last season didn't help, because last season was actually kind of predictable.
Yeah, you're right.
It made everyone forget that Europe can be an absolute dumpster fire.
Yeah. But like, yeah, there's one more series to talk about before we do a couple of predictions for next week, and that's Weedham Girls versus Flipside. And thank goodness I got this one right. So I got one right. Did I even get the 3-1? I can't remember if I predicted that Flipside would take a game. I think I did. I think I might have got this. So this might be the only one in EU that I got exactly right. But what did you think, firstly, about Metsinoris for Weedham Girls, the new player? And we both kind of like sort of agreed that he's the best signing for EU this season. So what do you reckon? Week 1, how's he getting on?
It feels so nice being able to watch him rotate further than halfway across his field before having to turn back around. We sort of discussed this last week where we said Metz is going to love not being sort of pigeonholed towards the back of the field, and he looks so much better with... I mean, we know what's going to happen. Remco on any team is going to guarantee you rotation, and a really solid one. And Metz and Archer seem to feel really comfortable in that, so I hope that continues to improve. It's weird. Weedham Girls is like one of the only teams that picked someone new up and had very few questions about it. It's just... we sort of expected it to work out just fine, and it looks like it has. Now, for Flipside, though, it sort of just seems like a continuation of last season.
It's worrying for Flipside. Like, we're only one game in, and everybody, like, I mean, I'm kind of writing them off already, but we know that they are a team with lots of talent on them. So, I mean, when I say that if I had to predict right now who the bottom 2 are, I'd say Flipside are in there. That is not like a high percentage like prediction. I'm not saying I would bet my house on it. I'm just saying that it's just in my mind likely. But I could see them bouncing back. And the PSG series that they have in the first game of week 2, or the first match of week 2, is a really good place to start. Like, they've beaten PSG before. A few times, and they had a super close series with them last RLCS. They just need to start well, don't they? Like, Flipside need a good start. They were really slow starters last season in RLCS. They were slow starters versus Weedham Girls in week 1 of RLCS season 6. They need a good start versus PSG. They need to go in and just play like Dignitas did against Fnatic in their first game of week 1. I don't know how they're gonna achieve that though. How they're gonna manage.
See the spark right now. I really want to. The nice thing about Flipside is that you know it can literally change in a week.
Yep.
Where they will suddenly just become monsters again.
Yeah.
We saw it as RLCS was coming to a close last time around. Like, literally the week RLCS finished, they suddenly became insane. And they just slaughtered Dignitas numerous times. But right now, it's not happening. And you're literally just going, please, just ignite. And they're going to quickly run out of time. It's a short season. They've got 4 more weeks for this. And you have to say you've got a 2-week limit before you have to start finding results. One thing I will say about that, though, is for the first 3 weeks, Flipside do not have a single week where they play twice.
Yeah, and they also get the some of the tougher matches out of the way early. Like, I think Weedham Girls are going to be one of the best teams in Europe this season. They got them out of the way already. Dignitas is their week 3 matchup. Nobody expects them to win that, but hey, nobody thought they would beat Dignitas last season, and they did. And I think it was also week 3 that time as well. And then after that, they've got Fnatic and Vitality in the same week, 2 teams that struggled in week 1, and then Mouse and Complexity. So it gets debatably easier towards the end. You never know with Europe, but Flipside, they can bounce back. It's a shame for all the Flipside fans. It seems like Flipside always need to be backed into a corner before they start playing their best. But hey, they're starting to get backed into our corner, so who knows? Maybe the best is coming.
Hopefully.
The back to just a brief Weedham Girls discussion. Next week they've got Complexity and PSG. I reckon that Weedham Girls Complexity is really going to show us like how legit Complexity are, because they started off really well against PSG, then they managed to resist the reverse sweep, but are they going to be able to do that again against Weedham Girls? I really don't know. This is going to be such an interesting series, man. Like the Metza playing against Magnus a lot, Greasy playing against Remco. So interesting. Like they know each other. They all know each other so well. And I've got no information. Like I don't have any secrets to tell you about who's winning in scrims or anything. But man, there's some super interesting series next week in Europe. Like everything in Europe is just so unpredictable. Who do you think's going to win that Weedham Girls Complexity right now? You could change your prediction before the weekend, but right now,
I'll go Weedham Girls.
Yeah, I think I will too.
I really like what I've seen from them at the moment.
Yeah, I think I'll agree with you on that. And then of course Weedham Girls PSG. PSG beat Weedham Girls in the last tournament. It was the Coliseum, right?
Yes.
Just a couple of weeks ago. So, yeah, do you think they're going to do it again?
No, I'm actually predicting a Weedham Girls 3-0. Not 3-0 in the series, but 3-0 in game. Like
in games?
Overall.
Over PSG?
Oh my god, my words are betraying me right now.
You're not predicting...
Weedham Girls are going to finish the week 3-0. There we are.
Yeah, I agree with that. I don't think they're going to 3-0 PSG, though. I think it'll be closer.
No.
All right, let's stay with Europe. So, flip side PSG, I think it's, probably just going to be a PSG win in this. Flip side, probably take a game. Actually, no, they could take two, but I think PSG are going to win 3-2 or 3-1. What do you think about that one?
Yeah, I think PSG probably 3-2.
And then we've both given Weedham Girls the complexity and the PSG series. Then earlier we said Dignitas are going to smash Mouse. Fnatic versus Vitality, last one for Europe next week. Who do you think is taking this one?
I got to go for Vitality. I saw more from Vitality than I did Fnatic.
Yeah, I think I agree with you there. And I don't think Vitality are going to underestimate Fnatic like they did Mouse, which was a problem for them last week. I wasn't. Like you said, I wasn't impressed by Fnatic at all in week one. They've got a lot of work to do. Now, back over to NA, just to finish off the predictions. I think we both said already that Cloud9 were expecting to win both series. Energy and G2 were expecting to win both of their series as well. So that just leaves the question mark, the Rogue versus Ghost. Who are you giving Rogue versus Ghost to in week two?
Ghost.
Okay.
Ghost.
Yeah, I think I agree, but the guy in chat who said that the Hurricane is dodging Memory's house has made me a lot more confident about that prediction.
Yes. Beforehand, I actually had Rogue on it purely because of
the Hurricane.
All of the craziness regarding it, but if there's less craziness, I think Ghost are the slightly better team. But at the same time, it's hard to predict Rogue. It's hard to predict Rogue because it can't get worse than it was. So
yeah, true, very true. But yeah, that's actually all of RLCS EU and NA for this week. So we're just gonna say thanks for listening to the. Actually, last weekend my editor didn't even edit the Q&A with Twitch chat out. So, I did this whole. This will be the end of the podcast segment. So thanks for listening. See us later. Then it just kept on going. So if you're wondering why this actually ends this time, it's because it was supposed to end here this week in the video segment, and the actual no predictions. We've already done all the predictions for NA earlier. We think Cloud9, Energy, and G2 are all going to win their series. Simple as that.
I don't like how much we agree. I need to.
We agreed on literally everything.
Start taking some wilder swings.
We agreed on literally everything. But if you do want to enter my predictions contest, just check out my Twitter this weekend. You can follow me on Twitter at JohnnyBoy. You can see that underneath me if you're watching video here. And you can follow Callum the Shogun on at Callum the Shogun. That's Callum with 2 L's. And you can see it over there. Actually, it's this way. I'm facing the wrong way.
So I'm changing a prediction. Just to take a wild swing. EG beat C9. Boom.
Really? Do you actually think that, though? Hold on.
I just really want the outside prediction.
Nah. Okay, for the sake of argument, all right? Since we're so confident on Cloud9, G2, and Energy winning all their series, do you really think that's the one that's most likely to go the wrong way?
No, but it's the one that gives me the most kudos if it's correct.
Okay. I don't know about that. I think if you call an Allegiance over Energy or Ghost over Cloud9, I think that gives you more clout because EG already beat Ghost, right? So that's got to be a more bold prediction to say Ghost over Cloud9.
I think Ghost over Cloud, yeah, but I don't believe in that at all.
So it's like an element of actual belief.
It's like I could see EG doing it. It's like I'm picturing it in my head right now. I can see the Classics tweet after the game.
Should have been 3-0.
It's in my head right now. I see it. I can see it happening.
Now, I reckon if I had to pick one of those series going the wrong way, like either the Cloud9 series, the Energy one, or the G2, I think I have to say G2 are probably the most likely to lose, just because they're the least consistent of those three teams in recent months, and they looked really good in week one, but that could change. I don't think it's going to change, but if I have to, give a prediction of which one of my predictions is most likely to be wrong, that's confusing. I would say G2. How about Europe then? All right, which one of your predictions
if I'm going for
are you
a
least confident on?
Europe?
Yeah, we said that PSG are going to beat F3, Weedham Girls are going to beat Complexity, Dignitas beat Mouse, Vitality beat Fnatic, and Weedham Girls beat PSG. Which one of those are you the least confident about?
Complexity with them goals.
Oh, I was gonna say that. Well, there's no thing it's his mouse. That's for
'cause
sure.
really
It's not
close.
PSG flip side.
I could pick either way on that one.
It's not Vitality Fnatic. Yeah, Complexity with them girls. That's an interesting one. Very, very interesting. But yeah, the Complexity did beat PSG. And PSG beat Widom Girls. So therefore, Complexity should beat Widom Girls, right? That's how Rocket League in Europe works.
That
Wrong.
is one. Yeah, it's always been
No, it's not.
super linear.
But yeah, that I think that'll do it for our RLCS Week 1. Definitely feedback appreciated on this. Anything else that you'd like us to talk about regarding teams and fixtures and predictions and players. But we're trying to like keep it simple to begin with and then build upon it. And yeah, hopefully you guys who are watching video like the graphics from this week. I've got some ideas about it
at some point. We'll
yeah, we need a between
background.
us. There's a little telescreen between us. We can both point at it.
It's like we're both in our own little areas, but when we put our hands across, it's like a little void.
Yeah,
where we both are in the same area, and we just go.
Well,
yep.
I mean, the thing is, when I move you across, you actually the ducks kind of do blend, so it looks like a fridge. I don't know if you can see that. Yeah, it does blend quite nicely. But yeah, thanks again for listening, everybody, for watching. I'll stick around for longer. I don't know how long Shogun can stick around, but we'll take
I can probably do about 15 minutes.
Yeah,
next.
We'll take some questions from chat. So get your questions in Twitch chat if you want to know anything from either of us going into this week or just anything in general. And for the rest of you, we'll see you next week for probably more talking about how wrong our European predictions were.
And how right I was about C9EG.
Oh, well, we'll see about that.
Well,
we'll see about that. All right, boys. What do you want to know, Twitch chat? What's the story? I've got to turn off all these graphics. Hold on a second. There we go. Oh, we can stop recording the.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I've stopped recording that Audacity. There we go.
Boom.
Will we ever see a duo cast like in the old days? I mean, it's likely. Yeah, likely to happen at some point, I reckon. Why aren't either of you guys casting RLCS? Well, Shogun's got visa issues, so that's also
this whole getting to America thing is very hard for us Europeans.
Bodes very well for all, or bodes very badly for all European casters. So yeah, that's the thing. Nose comparison. I've easily got that in the bag. Don't think we need to move my face cam to compare. Any thoughts on how OCE looks? I didn't watch OCE. Did you watch any OCE, Shogun, at all?
I didn't get a chance to. It's the worst start time for us. Yeah. 1 a.m.
Also,
but I heard there was a really good series in there.
Yeah, I'll be watching playoffs and trying to keep up with who's I'll keep up with fixtures and results and teams and the stats, but I'll probably only watch playoffs and that'll be it. Marida reviews Pirates, not in this life. Who has the hardest job as a single player to make their team win? You mean who has to carry the hardest in RLCS for their team to win? I mean, looking at just week 1, I would say Jacob would have had to, because I think Joro and Sis did have the individual worst performances, the two of them. So therefore, Jacob probably had the hardest job to carry them, right? But yeah, I'd have to think about that one to give a confident answer. Have you got a better answer for that? I'm not sure.
I think in terms of who tries to carry the most, it's Lefemere.
Yeah, that's a good shout.
I don't think he needs to all the time, but it's Lefemere.
Yeah. What do you think happened to Vitality? We talked about that a bit earlier. I think they underestimated Mouse a little bit. Fairy Peak's been playing way below his own very high standards. And yeah, they just couldn't keep up the momentum with those equalizers, run those equalizers into an overtime win. They've failed to do it both times, which is really, really impressive from Mouse as well. Was there anything else about Vitality that we think happened to them? I don't know if there was much else.
We thought the reaction to Scrub was a little bit overblown. That was about it.
Yeah. I also thought it was just
it was a good performance. That's it.
Oh yeah. Scrub actually played pretty well. I don't think he needs to change anything. No, doesn't need to play Octane. He's fine.
Although I did enjoy the tweet of, "Sorry guys, I am not going to stream this week." And then literally on the Monday. Yeah,
he's streaming. He's just like, "Sorry, changed my mind." Nah, he said something about that on his stream. He thought that people were going to be way more negative, and he didn't want to have to put up with that, which is smart. He realizes that he doesn't he obviously he thinks he could probably take it, all of the insults and the people saying, "Hey, you lost your first series, well, haha, you're bad." But he didn't even want to put himself in the firing line initially. Then after thinking about it, he's like, "Ah, no, screw it. I don't think people are going to be that mean." And he's right. I don't think people were that mean to his on his stream. play of the week. What was your play of the week? Was it the Illusion equalizer or the Illusion overtime winner?
The Illusion one did mean a lot.
Was there a better
probably
play?
an Illusion goal. I can't think of anything better, to be honest.
There's a better one
There was
myself.
nothing that meant as much as that, I think.
Yeah, true.
I mean, the only one I could look towards meaning as much is anything during complexity series against PSG, but they won that final game 3-0, so...
Yeah. Yeah, if PSG had actually finished that reverse sweep, and we could have looked at a moment of that series and thought that's the best moment of the week, but they lost, so unlucky. Number one shooter of the season. You mean the guy with the most goals at the end? K-Dop's usually a good shout for that. Gimmick's been taking a bit more of a backseat role recently, actually, in Cloud9, funnily enough. Like he was
Gimmick or Squishy, I would go with.
Squishy's been scoring a lot recently.
Squishy's scoring a load recently.
Scoring a lot, like he's moving up more.
I think Gimmick's actually... They've sort of switched a little bit where Gimmick's now become the mechanical boy.
They have. It's very interesting. But yeah, for NA, I think... who's got... I mean, NRG, Garrett and Justin tend to score a bajillion goals. So it could be either of those two. I'd go with Garrett probably. But that's only because Justin is more of an assist guy for NRG. Yeah, probably Garrett or Squishy, I guess, for top goals. JNaps if Chronobi and the gang keep popping up. In EU, what do you think? Because K-Dop, Violent Panda's playing really well.
Dropping things.
Don't know who else. Like, there's a good chance iGnite could step up and start banging in tons of goals. Even Cuxer, like if Flipside do come back, Cux is probably going to score tons of goals. So they're the ones to look at. Anybody else looking out for goals?
Like
in EU?
The goal scoring amounts are usually like so vastly different between NA and EU. Last season, Garrett finished with 1.25 per game.
Yeah, it's mad.
I think who was the top? It was K-Dop, wasn't it? Who was top for goals per game?
Always. Cuxer right behind him, I think.
Yeah, which is pretty much how it has been for quite some time now. But yeah, they weren't close to 1.25. And
then if you really want the highest goals per game, just look at Drippy and OCE. That's your number one shooter. Do you think G2
that will end up being close to 1.56 at this rate?
Yeah. Do you think G2 threw games in Season 3 to make the games look closer and pull more people into the scene? It's a little conspiracy theory my tinfoil hat told me. No.
I don't think G2 have ever been good enough to, pick and choose when they want to throw.
I think G2 were rubbish in Season 3. Apart from JNaps, who was quite good.
Yeah.
And tried his best.
That was an awkward season.
What does Jacob have to do to become a top player and not just a fan favourite? Sizz as well. Well, with all of the difficulties Sizz has had over the years with internet connection for the West Coast, I'm really surprised that he hasn't looked into moving to the East Coast to play League Play by now. I don't know if that's something that any of the West Coast players have thought about, or if he's done that. I think he still plays from the West Coast, but yeah, Sizz would probably do well to do that because he's always talking about how many issues he has with lag, right? So why not just move to the East Coast? And Jacob, I mean, obviously there are answers to that question. Like he likes living at home. He's got quite a nice house, got a dog, a car.
He's getting married.
No, that's Jacob, not Sizz.
Yeah, sorry, I'm only talking about Sizz. I thought you said Jacob previously.
Yeah, Sizz is West Coast. Jacob is still in Atlanta, right? So his internet should be fine. What does Jacob have to do to become a top player? Jacob's actually really good right now. He's playing very well. He's grinding the game a lot, streaming a lot. So I think Jacob just needs to keep doing what he's doing, but needs to find a better way to carry his team if they are not playing well, like they were in week 1. I have to wait and see, though. What do you reckon about that? What does Jacob need to do to become a top player again?
I'd like to see the rotation sorted out a little bit. There's a lot of cutting across, which you can do. Obviously, we can chalk it up to him trying to carry, but you're not carrying your team like that. You're not 1v3ing C9. So you sort of have to play as if your team is playing well. Because as soon as you start cutting up like that, that's the series over. You are not winning like that.
Why do you think F3 has looked so shaky? You got a good answer for that one?
Probably could have done with taking on Dignitas for the first game of this season.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I honestly don't know. I watch Flipside play and I just go, I think you guys are playing a little bit too basic. I think you're playing it too safe. If you give that team a chance to go mechanically against some teams, I think they'd do a lot better. But right now they're trying to outpace a few, and I can't remember a time that Flipside with this roster has ever outpaced anyone. It's always been, yo, that was a sick goal. And okay, you've 2 minutes later, you've just got another sick goal.
Yeah.
I don't think they let themselves do that enough. The passing as well is a little off.
Let's see. Is shot percentage important? Yes, and therefore Rizzo is the worst player in North American RLCS? No. I'm sure you've seen that clip. Shot percentage is not actually that important. You could have a perfect series from a player where they have a 0% shooting percentage because you get shots in Rocket League for hitting the crossbar, which you shouldn't. I think you should only get shots when your shot is actually on target, not when you've hit the crossbar. So you could be making crossbar passes or passes off the near post, deliberately, like intentionally hitting the crossbar so your teammate can follow up and shoot. And the game will give you a shot and not a goal, and therefore your shooting percentage is 0 instead of 100. So yeah, I don't think shooting percentage is that important. Obviously, it's like somewhat indicative of who's, you can read into it in various ways, but not one of the stats that's really that important in my opinion. I mean,
it's something that has always been used to sort of back up a point rather than be the point.
Yeah, it's like a nice thing to go to. Wow, look at that! The top scorer in the league also has a high shooting percentage. He must be a really accurate shooter. It can be like that sometimes.
I mean, there's been a couple of times
it don't be
where
like that.
We've looked at teams that are somehow doing really well despite the fact that they get nothing off during the game. And then you want to look towards shooting percentage because you just turn around just going, I don't know how on earth, like I'm just taking an example, I don't know how on earth iIgnite is only getting, such a low amount of shots per game, and yet he's still third highest in goals per game. It's because his shot percentage is, X amount.
Yeah.
So that's sort of helpful, but you never base a performance on shot percentage. It's just like an explainer for other things.
Do you think G2 feeds JNaps so he can get a bigger salary because he was new to esports? I really hope that's not a serious question because that's ridiculous. No.
Wait, what was that again?
Do you think G2 feeds JNaps? I think that means like they give him goals and possession and the ball. Like, do you think Rizzo and Kronovi let JNaps have the ball? Basically, I think the idea behind that is this idea that the reason JNaps carries G2 is because Rizzo and Kronovi are such nice teammates that they give him goals just so that G2 will give him the same salary that Rizzo and Kronovi probably have, which is higher because they're older players and veterans.
So what I want now is I actually really like the little mask thing that G2 has, their logo. I want that, and the guy that they have for LCS and whatnot who comes out like waving their flag.
Yeah.
I want one of those for Rocket League. He comes out in the mask, but he's got a little tinfoil hat on as well. It's like, what's going on?
Yeah, that's the most tinfoil thing I've ever heard. That's ridiculous. No, JNaps is just better than Kronovi and Rizzo. That's just the facts. He's just better. And that's not to say Rizzo and Kronovi are bad players. They've had their moments. Kronovi played very well in week 1. Rizzo had a great league play last season, but JNaps is just the best player on the team. It's simple as that. I think Matt will see league play. That's an interesting question. Oh, that's interesting. It's possible. I really don't know though. I don't know what's going on behind the scenes there, but it's possible.
I think a lot has to go wrong. I think if you do move someone to the sub role, you're pretty much guaranteeing you're not seeing him again for the rest of the season.
Yeah. Right, we'll take 2 more questions from Good Dark Flame Award up. If Flipside did end up in the bottom 2, what do you think would happen to them next season? Do they just call it a bad joke or work their way back up? I think if they finish bottom 2, roster changes happening. Simple as that.
It has to. It really does.
And they would also be in a bit of a rough spot because there's some good RLRS teams who are trying to get into RLCS, so they might even go down. Like, whoever finishes bottom 2 in Europe this season is not going to have an easy time in promotion relegations. Both, like, the promotion relegation teams from NA both qualified, or from RLRS both qualified in North America last season, and one of them did from EU. And this season in Europe is going to be even harder than it was last.
It would sort of... It's an annoying trend that Flipside have had recently, but they slowly get further and further down the board. They've went from winning season 2 to LAN to not LAN to not LAN again. Yeah. And then this season, if they were to go down, it'd be like, lads.
Yeah, it could happen. But yeah, it's a long way to go. Yeah, let's wait and see what happens in the rest of the league play because they made a huge change in the middle of league play last season and started popping off. All right, last question. How has Fairy been so dominant in 1s yet kind of flop when it comes to 3s? Well, they're 2 very different skill sets. There's plenty very, very good level or high level 1v1 players in the world right now who are useless in 3s, just like there are many good 3v3 players who are absolutely useless in 1s. They're completely different skill sets, completely different mechanical preferences and strategical preferences. So of course, you will see crossover. There are some players who are good at both, but unless a player like actually puts in a lot of hours in a particular game mode, they're not going to be good at it. And 1v1 players aren't going to be naturally good at ones unless they practice, or they're not going to be good at threes unless they put a ton of hours into it. No, that's just that's just one thing. Fairy, he is actually good at both game modes, and I think he's been struggling just across the board recently. But 3v3, he's definitely, like you were talking about this, Shogun, earlier, and I'll let you repeat your point rather than making it for you. He's just not been as good as we're expecting him to be based on how good he is online.
Yeah, I think if you had Fairy at like a level playing field with how we'd put some other players, you'd say he's doing fine at the moment. But because we all expect and want Fairy to be that top tier player, we sort of expect him to be playing like a top tier player all the time. And he's just struggling to do that. But I agree with you entirely. Wands is basically a completely different game.
Yeah,
it really is. As someone who has managed to get Grand Champ in solo standard, twos, and standard, I don't know how Wands works. Straight up. Every time I go into it, I'm just like, it's so different, and it's so ridiculously strange about how people go. I feel like challenges feel different. I get that far into my own head.
Yeah.
You can't compare the two.
Yeah, you can't. However, there will be crossover forever, because players who are good at figuring out ones, if they apply that same like dedication and drive and focus to threes, then they can get good at threes as well. It's happened loads of times. There's lots of very good 1v1 players who have been considered one of the best, if not the best 1v1 player in the world, have gone on to like do very well in RLCS and even win championships. So it can happen. It will happen again. You just have to wait and see. That's not really the problem with Fairy Peak. He's struggling in just everything right now. He's still like a beast in ones, so he's probably still the best ones player in the world. He doesn't even try, and he's the best. It's ridiculous. Hopefully we'll get a rematch with him in OSM down the line. But yeah, that'll be it for questions. I know you've got to run, Shogun, so you got anything you want to... Well, what are you up to for the rest of the week, so people know where to find you this week in particular?
I'll be off in Amsterdam with Cole, Stumpy, and Doomsy. We're working a trade show, so I'll be back as of next Tuesday. If anyone wants to check out what we're doing, make sure you follow me at Twitter at Calendar Shogun. But yeah, I'll make sure I'm here. We should definitely be able to keep the podcast going. And as Johnny said, if you've got any improvements that you want to see that don't involve just getting rid of me forever, send them across.
What are you going to be tweeting?
If you have suggestions about getting rid of Johnny, I am all ears.
Listen, I'm not sure. I'm not too happy about that one myself. Are you going to be tweeting stuff about Amsterdam while you're there?
If anything's interesting is happening, then it's just a trade show. It's not.
Yeah.
It's not, going out in front of everything and just going, yo, guy, there's this big event happening. It's going to be me 1v1ing Cole on a stage. So
somebody that's like, there's something for everyone. And just like, and you flip it the other way, everything's for someone. There will be someone who enjoys that. Just follow Shogun on Twitter. You'll be able to keep up. And you're back on Tuesday streaming on Twitch, I take it.
I'll be back like midday Tuesday, and I'll get the Twitch up once again at Calendar Shogun. Keep that going.
Sweet. All right. It's been a pleasure, as always, Shogun. Thanks for your insight, especially on the earlier series, which I did not really watch anywhere near as close as you did. Looking forward to next week. Looking forward to being wrong about every prediction this weekend. Hey, I'll talk to you later, man.
Bye, bud.
Peace.